Yeah, so I'm in the 4Runner, of course. Very excited to be on the road. I love road trips these days. I've done a lot of flying this year already, kind of going back and forth to my parents and whatnot, and some other trips around the country, but I really prefer being on the road, and I just love driving the 4Runner. Also, I love bringing my bike with me. I've got the Specialized Status. It's mounted up on the Thule, so I'm hoping to hit some trails back home in Payless. So that'll be good if the weather permits. But yeah, it's hard to fly places now and not have my bike, because everywhere I go in the country, there's typically some good mountain bike trails somewhere. So I prefer to have my bike, and so even though the trips are longer, I really prefer to drive. So yeah, we're coming up on I-80 here, and this is going to be about another 4 hours before my halfway point to Chicago. But yeah, so I figured I'd take some of this time to finally kind of talk about the 4Runner a bit more, now that I've had it just a little over a year. I got this last Thanksgiving pretty much, and man, that was such a cool experience getting the 4Runner, and I started going on camping trips and doing tons of mountain biking right away. So it's been a really cool experience having this thing. I've done quite a few trips around the country. I did a huge road trip back in May. You guys have probably seen some of those videos. And on that trip I was in Colorado, but I also made it to Oregon. Did some awesome biking in Bend, Oregon. Did a full week of camping in Moab, which was incredible. And yeah, found the place I ended up in Colorado while I was on that trip. So that was a really, really fun trip, but tons of miles on the 4Runner, just cruising around the Rockies and Crested Butte and Colorado Springs, stuff like that, and then up to the Pacific Northwest. So yeah, I'm at almost 18,500 miles, which is more than ideal, I would say, because you know, in a typical year, you know, you figure put about 12,000 miles on the vehicle, but hey, it's just I have a lot of excuses to go places, especially with the mountain biking. It's just it's too hard to resist the urge to just get in the 4Runner and go. And I love camping and things like that. So, but yeah, so I guess I'll try to give kind of a summary of my experience with the 4Runner. First of all, I'd say that I think this is probably one of the best road trip vehicles that you could possibly buy, and I'll definitely cover some of those reasons. But it's still not a perfect vehicle by any means. But I could probably list the main pain points on one hand. Starting with the obvious ones, I would say, you know, gas mileage, very rough. And you guys all know that if you know anything about 4Runners and Jeeps and whatnot and trucks. On these trips, I usually get somewhere between 15 and like 18.5 miles per gallon, depending on how windy it is and depending on how much stuff I'm carrying.